guys, it's Air from Just My Typewriter, and this is an oldie but a goodie. So this is an Underwood 6, probably from the late 1920s, more likely the 30s or 40s, and I've had it in my collection since I really started. It was one of the first machines I received in that first December of my collection. So I've had it for almost 8 or 9 years now at this point. It was also one of the first cleanings and repairs that I tackled. My dad and I went through and kind of cleaned this machine almost a decade ago, but I've learned so much since I started typewriter repair that I wanted to go back through and kind of redo everything in it, or at least check the quality of it, and see if there's anything that we missed almost 8 years ago when we actually worked on this machine. It's been sitting in my office for the last 4 or 5 years, so it's definitely collected a little bit of dust. It's got the normal dirt and dust and just age that comes with sitting for a while because I don't use it very often. So I know that it needs at least a clean, but there are a few other issues on it here. The first being that the shift height is obviously not lined up, in addition to this ribbon being pretty faded. I mean, it's been on there for 8 years, so it makes sense that it needs a new ribbon. But the shift height here, this is the difference between the lowercase and the uppercase. I don't think I even knew to look for this when I had started repairing typewriters, so this is definitely something we're going to have to fix. Another thing I noticed here on the machine just in using it is that the margins, which you can actually set on the front of this machine, they're on a rail system, are not operating correctly. The one is really stuck. Now this could be a cleaning issue. When I first did the repair on this, I actually used a lot of buffing compound, and so that could be stuck in here. What's interesting about these margins, they're set on a rail system, is that they're actually mirror images of what the margins act like. So the one here on the left is the right-hand margin, and the one on the right is the left-hand margin. Regardless, they're stuck in place, so I'm going to have to go through and do a little bit of cleaning here and see if there's something broken. Something else I noticed as I was kind of clicking through this machine is that the enter or carriage return lever just seems a little bit stuck. So let's see if we can clean that up as well. Another thing you can see here on the basket is that I did take that buffing compound and clean the basket for some reason, and I also didn't completely remove all the residue of that. So I still have these like little white spots on here, which is just so annoying to look at and actually very frustrating because it can really impact how the machine operates. So I get a couple keys stuck here. I definitely need to go through this and clean this out. So there's not a ton that's wrong on this machine, but it's the little things that I didn't know how to do at the beginning that I wanted to go through and kind of redo on this Underwood 6. I started by trying to clean out this rail for the margin system here on the front. I thought if I just cleaned the rail, I'd be able to fix it. It actually took me several passes to eventually get this margin working. So I took a little sunshine cloth and just started polishing away at some of the metal, hoping that that would make it easier to move. While I was doing this, I also removed the ribbon. I need to put a new one on there. I kind of can't believe that this one is 8 years old. I can't imagine that I've been doing typewriter repair for that long. It feels like I just started yesterday, but definitely time to replace that. One thing I really wanted to do was remove the carriage assembly on this machine. I had remembered that we had done this when we first worked on this model, and my dad had done it when I wasn't there, so I don't really know how he took it off in the first place. But if I can remove the carriage, which does come off in one piece, I can definitely clean a lot deeper into the machine, which is something that I wanted to do. So I had to watch a video by Typewriter Chicago, which I will link down in the description below, to figure out how to remove this. His video is for an Underwood 5, and this is an Underwood 6. Very similar models. I will say I did not completely follow this tutorial in taking this apart, so I definitely didn't take it apart correctly. I started by removing the ruler on the front, which keeps in that front rail. My screw was really stuck in there, so I did have to use WD-40 and let it soak, and then apply a lot of pressure and bugger up that screw on the top. But eventually I was able to remove this ruler up front and lift the rail from the front. Then it gets a little cattywampus, as my grandfather would say, and I just start tugging at things until I can really freely move the carriage assembly. I would watch Lucas's video. This doesn't really showcase what I did, and I definitely didn't do it right because I had a lot of trouble getting it back in there, but I just kind of skirted it off the rails at this point. The next thing I did was take my sunshine cloth, my polishing cloth, and just kind of go in and start to clean up those rails. They might look shiny, but there can always be residue on them, and steps like this really ensure the machine is going to operate smoothly. I've been trying to get better at polishing up the chrome pieces. It's not just a visual thing, it really can impact the machine. So I went through and did a little bit of cleaning. One thing that was an issue on this machine, or something I want to remove before I'd rehome this machine, is that we had added this bar to the bottom. I had, when I started working on typewriters, wanted to make one of my typewriters into a machine that would operate with a computer. And for that, you need a sensor bar in the bottom of the keyboard. So my dad added this universal bar in here so that we could add some sort of sensors. We never got through that project, and it just didn't seem like something that was necessary for someone else to have. So I did want to remove that before I rehomed this machine, so it was back to that original state. It was then time to clean out the basket. I just took some isopropyl alcohol in here and put it in a couple places and then air dusted it off just to kind of clean out that pathway. I really wanted to remove that white residue that was on there from that buffing compound. I also had taken a pick here and really scrub at it to get it off of this basket. I wish I just removed it correctly the first time, but no, price of an education, I have to go in there and do it now. Once I had the carriage assembly off, and it has like a mechanism that the platen sits in, and then it's got a separate set for that. I removed them as one piece. I wish I hadn't. But I went in with a polishing cloth and started to just clean off the chrome here and remove any gunk and dirt that was there for a really long period of time. I realized that I could take off some of these panels around the top and really clean out the pathways for things like the carriage return lever, which will fix that problem for me, as well as some of these other pieces. All of this, again, is going to help the machine operate more correctly and more smoothly over time. I went in with isopropyl alcohol and started to clean some of the rail systems in here, just stuff that I could get to on the underside of this carriage assembly that probably hasn't been cleaned in a really long time. It's the aesthetic side of things, getting rid of some of that dust, but it'll also help these rails operate a lot better. The carriage system here operates very differently than a portable machine. It's got these big rails in the back, these like tubes that ride along with the carriage assembly. So I wanted to make sure that this was as clean as possible before reassembling. I then put the carriage back on and I added in a ribbon. Now, I did this off camera the first time, and what I didn't realize when I was putting this back on there, that I was about to run into an issue with the shift on this machine. As you can see here in this type sample, everything is typing in capital letters because I didn't have the machine correctly put back together. So this took me a while to figure out. In order to slide this carriage back on here, I had to make sure that the shift was at the right height. And I really should have done this part separately, or taken apart the carriage assembly to make sure that I got it back on there correctly, rather than just kind of jamming things together. So eventually I was able to get the carriage down far enough to be in the correct position and to engage with the shift appropriately. And so I went through and started doing some of the additional cleaning parts. One thing I hadn't realized when I'd used my buffing compound in the first place, which you can also use on the enamel portions of this machine, was that it left a residue in some places were just cloudy on the outside finish of this machine. So I went in with another sunshine cloth and just started cleaning the enamel and just kind of buffing it out and making it shine so that both the chrome and the painted surfaces were really nice and shiny. And it brought a lot of life back to this Underwood 6. One thing I also do when I'm working on these enamel paint finish machines is I use turtle wax on a wet buffing cloth and then buff it in so I can protect that shine and just make it sparkle a little bit more. It's a nice trick to use on these glossy black paint finish machines and a great final step. And then I went and did my testing, and I realized that that shift alignment was still wrong even after all my cleaning. And this is where I learned how to do shift height adjustments on an Underwood. There's a fantastic video that I will link down in the description that shows you how to do this. There are spacers on the inside of that carriage assembly mechanism that you can adjust the height to. So this took me quite a long time. I have it here on camera for just this section, but I went through and in about 2 days adjusted the shift height on this to get both the lowercase letters and the uppercase letters to match their height. It is such an annoying process to get these to match, but you do need to get them to match on both sides as well. And it's just something that really affects the machine in general. So it took me a while to figure this out, but it is something that you can fix on a machine if you see that that shift height is not aligning. The last step I did was I went in and oiled the rails. Now, you hear all the time not to use oil on your typewriters, and what they really mean is not to use anything sticky like WD-40 in your type basket, But some rails and machines actually do need some sort of oil to operate, including the margin rails on machines like this, anything that has that carriage rail system. So I went through and applied some sewing oil on both the front margin rail, the back riding rail, anything where you're going to have that high traffic of the carriage moving across, and I added that in just to kind of lubricate it and grease it up so it'll operate smoothly as it operates. And with that, it's time for a final type test. So the next part of this process is to list the Underwood 6 and see if we get any takers on taking it home. 7:45 in the morning. I haven't even had coffee yet, but someone wanted the Underwood Standard. They had planned to pick it up last night and just didn't work out, so now I'm gonna go get it to them at 8 o'clock in the morning. Okay, so I think I waited for like an hour in the car, but he did get there eventually, and he was so excited that it was fine. I didn't mind waiting that long. He was buying his first typewriter. He wants to go analog, and he was just really excited. I got to show him how the machine worked, and I also sent him some of my 101 videos. I always like to do that when I'm selling, especially to a first-time buyer. I think the resources are really helpful because you can go back and watch them over time, which is why I think the 101 and 202 series are so useful. So very excited about that. Very happy that it's going to a good home where it's going to be appreciated, but now I need some coffee. So while I'm doing that, let's go to subscriber show and tell. Hey, Lippy, do you want to do the subscriber show and tell? This time we have Ethan Smith Corona flat top in this beautiful maroon color. He mentioned that he found one on Facebook Marketplace for $35, but he missed out on it, and so he was on the hunt. Eventually he found one for $80, and now it's a big part of his collection. Thanks so much, Ethan. That's better. If you're interested in more typewriter content or videos like this, there are more on this YouTube channel as well as on my Instagram at justonmy.typewriter. And I thank you all so much for watching and remind you that you're just my typewriter.